Welcome to Forgotten Hours. Tonight, you will step slowly into the Gulistan of Saadi, a timeless garden where roses breathe their fragrance into the dawn, and every path carries a whisper of wisdom. If these journeys bring you peace, let your support bloom like a rose by liking this video, subscribing for more, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Now, breathe deeply and let the story begin. Whispers of the Gulistan, Chapter 1, Dawn in the Gulistan. You step through the morning mist and find yourself at the threshold of something eternal, something that breathes with the rhythm of centuries. The Gulistan opens before you like a prayer made manifest, like verses written in dew and starlight. The first light of dawn, soft as silk, gentle as a mother's whisper, touches the edges of the garden walls. These ancient stones, weathered by time, kissed by countless sunrises, hold within them the memory of Saadi's footsteps, his contemplation, his gentle observations of the world. You breathe deeply, and the air carries with it the essence of roses, not yet fully awakened, but stirring in their sleep, like children who sense the approaching day. The fragrance drifts toward you, delicate, mysterious, speaking of beauty that transcends the boundaries of time and space. Your feet find the stone pathway, smooth from years of pilgrims, poets, dreamers who have walked this same route. Each step you take, slow, deliberate, connects you to this lineage of seekers. You are part of an endless procession of souls drawn to the sanctuary of wisdom. The mist, ethereal and silver, moves like spirits between the garden beds. It rises from the earth, carrying with it the breath of sleeping flowers. The whispered secrets of the soil, the dreams of roots that reach deep into the heart of the world. You watch it drift, formless, ever-changing, a visible reminder that all things flow, all things transform. To your left, a fountain murmurs, its voice soft and constant, like a meditation that has continued for 800 years. The water, clear as truth, pure as intention, cascades from tear to tear, each droplet catching the early light, scattering it into countless diamonds, countless moments of brilliance. You approach the fountain, and as you draw near, the sound grows richer, more complex. You hear not just water meeting water, but the music of time itself, the rhythm of breath, the pulse of existence. It is a sound that invites you deeper, into contemplation, into peace. The pool at the fountain's base, still and reflective, mirrors the lightening sky above. In its surface, you see clouds drifting like thoughts across the vast expanse of consciousness. You see the first stars fading, reluctant to leave their vigil. You see yourself, but softer somehow, as if the water has filtered away the harshness, the urgency, out, the weight of the everyday world. You kneel beside the pool and touch the water with your fingertips. It is cool, alive, responsive. Ripples spread outward in perfect circles, expanding, overlapping, creating patterns that speak of connection, of the way one small action, one gentle touch, can influence the whole. As you straighten, you notice the roses beginning to respond to the growing light, their petals still closed, still holding the night's dreams within them, tremble slightly, as if anticipating the moment of awakening. Some are deep red, the color of passion tempered by wisdom. Others are white as snow, pure as the intentions of the heart. Still others blend pink and cream, like dawn itself. You move among them, slowly, reverently, aware that you are walking through a living manuscript. Each bloom a verse, each thorn a reminder of life's complexity. The roses seem to sense your presence, to acknowledge your passage with the slightest movement, the faintest release of fragrance. Here, beside a bush heavy with buds, you pause. One rose, more eager than the others, has begun to open. Its outer petals have relaxed their grip, revealing layers within layers, mysteries within mysteries. You watch, patient as the garden itself, as the rose continues its slow revelation. The morning light, growing stronger now, paints the petals with shades you have never seen, colors that exist only in this moment, in this place where poetry becomes flesh, where wisdom takes root in soil and stone. The rose opens further, and you realize you are witnessing something sacred, the daily miracle of beauty offering itself to the world. From somewhere in the garden, a nightingale begins to sing. Its voice, liquid silver, pure joy made audible, rises and falls in patterns that mirror the rhythm of your breathing, the beating of your heart. You close your eyes and let the song wash over you, through you, becoming part of the symphony that is dawn in the Gulistan. The bird's melody, complex and simple at once, speaks of longing, of love that transcends the boundaries of species, of language, of time. It is the same song that Saadi heard, that inspired his pen to capture the essence of the rose's beauty, the nightingale's devotion, the eternal dance between desire and fulfillment. You open your eyes, and the garden seems transformed, not changed, but revealed, as if the nightingale's song has lifted a veil, shown you layers of meaning that were always present, always waiting for the moment when heart and mind would be ready to perceive them. The cypress trees, tall guardians of the garden, stand in their ancient rows, their dark green forms, elegant, unchanging, reach toward the sky like prayers made manifest, like the aspirations of the human soul. You walk toward them, drawn by their silent dignity, their patient witness to the passing of seasons, of centuries. As you enter the grove of cypress trees, the quality of light changes, becomes more mysterious, more intimate. The trees filter the dawn, creating patterns of shadow and illumination that shift, dance, speak of the interplay between the known and the unknown, the revealed and the concealed. Here, in this natural cathedral, the air is different, thicker with history, with the accumulated prayers and meditations of countless visitors. You breathe it in and feel yourself becoming part of this tradition, this unbroken chain of seekers who have found solace, wisdom, peace in the embrace of Saadi's garden. The ground beneath the cypress trees is soft, carpeted with fallen needles that release their resinous fragrance with each step. It is a scent that speaks of endurance, of the slow wisdom that comes from standing firm, from remaining rooted while reaching always toward the light. Between the trees, shafts of sunlight create columns of golden air, visible streams of illumination that seem solid enough to touch, to climb. In these pillars of light, you see dust motes dancing, tiny particles that move with the same random grace, the same purposeful purposelessness as thoughts arising and dissolving in meditation. You stop, lean against one of the great trees, and feel its steadiness, its deep-rooted calm. The bark beneath your palm is textured, real, connecting you to this living pillar that has witnessed so much, absorbed so many stories, so many moments of realization and understanding. The nightingale's song continues, now joined by other voices, a chorus of awakening. The garden is coming alive around you, not with urgency, but with the slow, natural rhythm of things finding their proper place in the morning's unfolding story. From your place among the cypress trees, you can see back toward the fountain, toward the roses. The mist is beginning to lift, revealing details that were hidden moments before. Garden paths wind between flower beds like lines of verse, each curve, each intersection designed to draw the eye, the heart, the soul deeper into contemplation. You notice now the orange trees, heavy with fruit that glows like lanterns in the growing light. The oranges, perfect spheres of gold and amber, hang among dark green leaves that seem to absorb and hold the morning, to treasure each moment of this daily transformation. The fragrance of orange blossoms, sweet, intoxicating, mingles with the roses, with the clean scent of flowing water, with the earth smell of growing things, creating a perfume that is unique to this place, this moment, this intersection of time and eternity. You leave the cypress grove, drawn forward by the promise of further discovery. The path leads you toward a section of the garden where the plantings are more intimate, more detailed. Here, every element seems chosen not just for beauty, but for meaning, for the stories it might tell, the lessons it might whisper. A pomegranate tree, its branches heavy with ruby fruit, stands beside the path. The pomegranates, split open by their own ripeness, reveal seeds like garnets, like drops of crystallized sunlight. You remember the stories, the myths, the symbolism carried by this fruit, abundance, fertility, the many in one, the unity that contains infinite diversity. Beneath the pomegranate, jasmine vines cascade over a low stone wall. Their star-shaped flowers, white as moonlight, pure as intention, release their perfume in waves, in breathing patterns that match your own. You breathe with them, in, out, feeling yourself synchronize with the rhythm of the garden, with the pulse of life itself. The wall, ancient stone, warmed by centuries of sun, worn smooth by countless hands, extends into the distance, defining spaces without dividing them, creating boundaries that invite crossing, that speak of the difference between separation and distinction, between walls that exclude and structures that embrace. You follow the wall, your hand trailing along its surface, feeling the variations in texture, the subtle differences that speak of time's passage, of weather's patient sculpting, of the way all things, even stone, participate in the great conversation between permanence and change, where the wall turns, creating a small alcove. You find a bench, simple, weathered, placed with perfect consideration for the view it commands. You sit and suddenly understand that this spot was chosen by someone who knew the garden intimately, who understood exactly where a visitor might need to rest, to absorb, to let the accumulating beauty settle into the depths of being. From this bench, you can see across the entire garden. The morning sun, now well above the horizon, illuminates everything with golden clarity. Yet the light is still soft, still gentle, still conducive to contemplation rather than action. The shadows have shortened, but they remain deep enough, mysterious enough to hold secrets, to preserve the sense that not everything is meant to be fully revealed. The roses, many now beginning to open, create splashes of color across the landscape. Red, white, pink, yellow, each hue speaking its own language, telling its own version of the story that began with the first sunrise, the first garden, the first human heart moved to create beauty for its own sake. A bee, heavy with pollen, drifts from flower to flower, its flight lazy, purposeful, unhurried, embodies the spirit of the garden itself. There's work being done here, important work, the ancient collaboration between flower and insect, between beauty and utility. But it is work that knows no urgency, no anxiety, no separation between labor and joy. You watch the bee's progress, mesmerized by the simple perfection of its purpose. The way it moves, without hesitation, without doubt, from one source of sweetness to another, carrying gifts, receiving sustenance, participating in the endless exchange that keeps the garden alive, generation after generation. The fountain's voice, constant, soothing, seems to grow more musical as the morning progresses. Or perhaps your hearing has become more attuned, more sensitive to its subtle variations. The way the water's song changes with the light, with the temperature, with the imperceptible shifts in the air that speak of day's advancement. You rise from the bench, feeling refreshed, centered, ready to continue your exploration. The path before you winds toward what appears to be the garden's heart, a space where all the paths converge, where all the plantings seem to focus their attention, their intention. As you walk, You notice how the garden reveals itself gradually, never all at once, never overwhelming. Each step brings new details into view while preserving the sense of mystery, of invitation, of stories yet to be discovered. This is the work of a master, someone who understood that true beauty must be approached slowly, contemplatively, with the kind of attention that transforms seeing into understanding. The gravel beneath your feet, small stones worn smooth by countless passages, creates a soft sound, a gentle percussion that accompanies your movement. It is a sound that speaks of all the pilgrims, all the seekers, all the souls who have walked this path before you, who will walk it after you, creating an invisible communion that transcends time. To your right, a bed of herbs releases its fragrances into the warming air. Mint, basil, rosemary, sage, each plant contributing its own note to the garden's symphony of scents. You breathe deeply and feel the aromatherapy of centuries working its ancient magic, calming, centering, connecting you to the earth, to the long tradition of gardens as places of healing, of restoration. The herbs, practical, beautiful, symbolic, represent another dimension of the garden's wisdom. They speak of the connection between beauty and utility, between the aesthetic and the essential, between the spiritual nourishment that comes through the eyes and the physical healing that comes through more direct communion with the plant world. A butterfly, wings like stained glass, like fragments of rainbow made solid, alights on a cluster of lavender. Its presence, brief, perfect, ephemeral, reminds you of the way all beauty visits us, temporarily, asking only for recognition, for appreciation, for the kind of attention that honors rather than grasps. You pause, watching the butterfly, understanding suddenly that you are witnessing a teaching, a demonstration of the way life offers itself freely, without guarantees, without permanence, asking only that we be present, be aware, be grateful for the gift of this moment, this encounter, this brief intersection of paths. The lavender, purple spikes swaying gently in the barely perceptible breeze, fills the air with its distinctive scent, calming, clarifying, inducing the kind of deep relaxation that allows truth to surface, allows wisdom to emerge from the depths where it waits, patient as seeds in winter soil. You continue forward, following the path as it curves around a small hill, planted with wild grasses that whisper, sigh, murmur in response to the air's gentle movement. The sound they make, subtle, almost subliminal, adds another layer to the garden's complex music, another voice in the choir of elements that creates the Gulistan's distinctive atmosphere. As you crest the small rise, the garden's center is revealed, and you gasp, not with surprise, but with recognition, with the deep satisfaction of arriving somewhere you have always known existed, somewhere that feels like home, like the destination toward which all your wandering has been leading. In the center of this space, A single ancient tree spreads its branches, its trunk, massive, gnarled, beautiful with age, speaks of centuries of growth, of seasons weathered, of storms survived, of the patient accumulation of rings, of years, of wisdom. This is not just any tree. This is the tree beneath which Saadi sat, contemplated, wrote. The very tree that sheltered his meditations, that witnessed the birth of verses that would outlive empires, that would carry comfort and wisdom to souls not yet born when its first leaves unfurled. You approach slowly, reverently, aware that you are entering sacred space. The ground beneath the tree, worn smooth by pilgrims, poets, dreamers, feels different beneath your feet. It seems to pulse, to breathe, to acknowledge your presence with a subtle warmth that rises through the soles of your shoes, through skin and bone, into the core of your being. The tree's branches, reaching in all directions, create a natural pavilion, a living architecture that filters light, creates shadows, defines space without confining it. Beneath this canopy, the air is different, cooler, richer, charged with the accumulated presence of all who have sought shelter, sought wisdom, sought connection with something larger than themselves. You sit, your back against the ancient trunk, and immediately feel the tree's age, its stability, its deep-rooted connection to forces far older than human civilization. The bark, textured, warm from the morning sun, seems to pulse with slow, patient life, with the rhythm of seasons, of decades, of centuries, turning like wheels within wheels. From this position, you can see the entire garden, every path, every planting, every carefully considered detail reveals itself as part of a larger design, a comprehensive vision that encompasses not just beauty, but meaning, not just pleasure, but transformation. The Gulistan spreads before you like an open book, like a map of the soul's journey toward understanding. The fountain, visible through the trees, continues its eternal conversation with gravity, with light, with the stones that shape its course. Its voice, carried on the air, seems to speak directly to you now, offering not words, but something deeper, the language of water, of flow, of the way all life moves from source to sea, from beginning to end, from seed to flower, from question to answer. The roses, now fully awakened by the advancing morning, glow like jewels throughout the garden, their beauty no longer potential but actual, no longer promised but delivered, speaks of the difference between dawn and day, between the whisper of possibility and the full-voiced song of realization. A peacock, magnificent, unexpected, steps into view from behind a screen of bamboo. Its plumage, iridescent, ever-changing, reflects the light in patterns that seem almost too beautiful to be real, too perfect to be natural. The bird moves with deliberate grace, each step, each turn of its head, choreographed by instinct, by the ancient knowledge that beauty is not vanity, but service. Not decoration, but revelation. The peacock's call, haunting, wild, untamed, cuts through the garden's gentle symphony like a reminder, like a voice from another world, from the realm beyond domestication, beyond human planning and control. It speaks of mysteries that cannot be cultivated, only invited, only honored, only received as gifts. You watch as the peacock spreads its tail, revealing the eyes, the watches, the mandalas hidden within its feathers. Each pattern, perfect, unique, unrepeatable, speaks of the infinite creativity that operates at every level of existence. From the spiral of galaxies to the veining of leaves, from the branching of rivers to the networking of thoughts. The display, brief, magnificent, ends as suddenly as it began. The peacock folds its glory back into practicality, into the everyday form that allows it to move, to feed, to survive. But the memory of those moments, of that revelation of hidden beauty, remains, settling into your consciousness like seeds, like promises, like reminders of what lies always just beneath the surface of ordinary experience. The sun, climbing higher now, begins to warm your shoulders, your back. The heat, gentle, gradual, speaks of the day's progression, of time's passage, of the need to balance stillness with movement, contemplation with action, receiving with giving. You know that eventually you will need to leave this spot, this perfect moment of connection with the tree, the garden, the accumulated wisdom of centuries. But for now, you are content to simply be, to simply breathe, to simply allow the Gulistan to work its ancient magic on your soul. The breeze, strengthening slightly as the sun climbs, moves through the tree's branches, creating a sound like whispered conversations, like secrets being shared, like the rustle of pages in a book whose words change, whose meaning deepens with each reading. In this sound, you begin to hear something else, something beyond the physical movement of air through leaves. You hear voices, not human voices exactly, but the voices of the garden itself, the accumulated whispers of all who have sat in this spot, who have opened their hearts to the Gulistan's teaching, who have allowed themselves to be transformed by proximity to beauty, to wisdom, to truth. These voices speaking in languages of scent and sound, of light and shadow, of growth and decay, tell stories, endless stories, of the way life moves through forms, through seasons, through the eternal cycle of beginning and ending and beginning again. They speak of Saadi's observations, of the moral tales he gathered like flowers, like fruits, from the garden of human experience. One voice, clearer than the others, seems to address you directly. It speaks of kindness, of the way small acts of compassion ripple outward, like the circles you created in the fountain's pool. It tells of travelers helped by strangers, of wounds healed by gentle words, of the way love multiplies when shared, rather than diminishing. Another voice, gentle, insistent, whispers of humility, of the strength that comes from knowing one's place in the larger order, from recognizing the interconnection, the interdependence that binds all beings in a web of mutual responsibility, mutual care. Still another speaks of unity, of the way apparent differences dissolve when seen from the proper perspective, when viewed with the eyes of wisdom rather than the eyes of fear. It tells of how the garden's beauty depends upon diversity, upon roses and jasmine, cypress and orange, fountain and stone, each contributing its unique gift to the whole. These voices, these whispers of wisdom, continue to weave themselves into your consciousness, into your understanding. They do not demand, do not insist. They simply offer, simply present themselves for your consideration, your acceptance, your integration into the fabric of your own growing wisdom. The morning continues its gentle progression, the light shifting, developing, revealing new aspects of the garden's beauty with each passing moment. You realize that you could sit here for hours, for days, and never exhaust the Gulistan's capacity for revelation, for teaching, for transformation. But you also understand that the garden's gift is not meant to be hoarded, not meant to be kept. It is meant to be received, integrated, carried forward, shared with others who hunger for beauty, for wisdom, for the peace that comes from connection with something eternal, something beyond the urgencies and anxieties of ordinary life. A cloud, small, perfectly formed, drifts across the sun, creating a brief shadow, a moment of coolness, a reminder of change, of the way all things pass, all moments transform, all experiences become memory, become part of the great story that each soul carries, adds to, enriches through the living of life. When the cloud passes, the sun emerges brighter, warmer, more present than before. The brief interruption has served only to enhance appreciation, to deepen gratitude, to remind you that even shadows, even temporary obscuration, serve the larger purpose, contribute to the greater beauty. You close your eyes, feeling the sun's warmth on your face, feeling the tree's steady presence at your back, feeling the garden's ancient peace settling into your bones, into your breath, into the rhythm of your heart. This is what you came for. This moment of perfect connection, perfect understanding, perfect acceptance of what is. When you open your eyes again, the garden seems somehow more vivid, more alive, more present than before. Colors appear deeper. Sounds carry more meaning. Fragrances speak more directly to the soul. You understand that something has shifted. Something within you has awakened, has opened like the roses, like the morning light, like the endless possibility that each new day represents. The fountain continues its eternal song. The roses continue their slow dance between bud and bloom. The cypress trees continue their patient reach toward sky. The garden continues its work of transformation, of healing, of teaching through beauty, through presence, through the simple fact of being here, being available, being open to all who come seeking something beyond the ordinary, something that nourishes the soul. You remain beneath the ancient tree, feeling no need to move, no need to do anything other than be present, be aware, be grateful for this gift of time, of place, of connection with the eternal wisdom that flows like water, that blooms like roses, that stands like cypress trees, patient, enduring, always available to those who approach with open hearts, with quiet minds, with souls ready to receive. The morning sun climbs higher, the shadows shift. The garden continues its eternal transformation, and you, sitting beneath Saadi's tree, in the heart of the Gulistan, understand that you have found something you will carry forever, something that will change the way you see, the way you listen, the way you move through the world. This is the gift of dawn in the Gulistan, not just the beauty, not just the peace, but the understanding that such places exist, that such moments are possible, that the soul can find, even in a world of noise and hurry, spaces of perfect stillness, perfect clarity, perfect connection with what matters most. The breeze stirs the leaves above you, carrying new fragrances, new whispers, new promises, and you settle deeper into the morning, deeper into the garden, deeper into the timeless moment that is always available, always present, always waiting for those who know how to be still, how to listen, how to receive the gifts that beauty offers to patient hearts. In the distance, a bell tower chimes the hour, but here, in the Gulistan, time moves differently, more gently, more kindly. Here, each moment expands, deepens, becomes not just duration, but presence. Not just passage, but arrival. Not just time, but eternity touching earth, touching consciousness, touching the soul with its reminder that some things, the most important things, exist beyond time, beyond change, beyond the boundaries that seem so solid, so permanent in the ordinary world. And so you remain, breathing with the garden, pulsing with the fountain, growing with the roses, reaching with the cypress, being, simply being, in the perfect moment of dawn in the Gulistan, where every breath carries wisdom, every glance reveals beauty, every heartbeat connects you more deeply with the source, the center, the eternal spring from which all gardens, all poems, all moments of perfect understanding arise. The morning continues, the garden breathes, the fountain sings, and you, sitting in the embrace of Saadi's wisdom, understand that you have been given exactly what you need, exactly what your soul has been seeking, exactly what the world, in its kindness, in its infinite generosity, has been waiting to offer to any heart brave enough, open enough, still enough to receive. Chapter 2. Petals of Stories. You find yourself deeper now, deeper within the sacred embrace of Saadi's eternal garden, where the morning light has grown softer, more golden, painting each petal with the tender brushstrokes of ancient wisdom. The dawn mist has begun to lift, slowly, gently, like veils of silk being drawn away from sleeping faces, and as it rises, it reveals to you a sight that makes your heart pause. Pause in wonder, pause in recognition of something timeless and beautiful. Before you spreads a meadow, vast and endless, carpeted not with grass but with flowers, countless flowers, each one unique, each one bearing within its delicate form a story, a whisper, a fragment of truth that has been waiting through the centuries, waiting for your gentle footsteps to arrive. You breathe deeply, and the air fills your lungs with the mingled fragrances of jasmine and rose, of orange blossom and sweet basil, of all the flowers that have ever bloomed in all the gardens that have ever existed. The scent is not overwhelming. No, it is like a lullaby made manifest, soft, comforting, drawing you forward with the gentlest of invitations. Your bare feet touch the earth, and you feel the coolness of morning dew, each droplet a tiny mirror reflecting the golden light above. The ground beneath is soft, yielding, as if the earth itself wishes to cradle your steps, to make your journey through this realm of stories as peaceful, as restful, as the sleep that awaits you at day's end. You walk slowly, without haste, without purpose beyond the simple joy of being here, being present in this moment, this eternal moment where time moves like honey, thick and golden and sweet. Each step you take seems to echo, not with sound, but with meaning, as if the very act of walking through this garden writes poetry upon your soul. To your left, a cluster of crimson roses catches the morning light. Their petals are velvet soft, deep red, like the heart's truest blood, like the blush that colors a lover's cheek, like the wine of joy that flows through life's sweetest moments. You pause, drawn by their beauty, drawn by the whisper that seems to emanate from their very center. As you lean closer, closer, the largest rose begins to unfurl, petal by petal, slowly, so slowly that you can see each movement, can feel the gentle rustle of silk against silk. And from within that opening bloom, a voice emerges, soft as a mother's lullaby, warm as candlelight, speaking words that seem to have been waiting centuries to be heard. There was once, the rose whispers, a king who possessed all the treasures of the earth, gold and silver, precious stones that caught the light like captured stars, palaces that stretched beyond the horizon, armies that moved like thunder across the land. Yet each night he lay upon his silken bed, and sleep would not come to him. The rose's voice grows softer, more intimate, as if sharing a secret meant only for your ears. For though he had everything, he had nothing. Nothing of true worth, nothing that could fill the emptiness within his heart. And so he would wander through his vast chambers, searching, always searching for something he could not name. You close your eyes, letting the story wash over you like warm water, like the gentle rain that nourishes sleeping seeds. The rose continues, its voice becoming one with the morning breeze, one with the soft murmur of distant fountains. One day, walking in his garden, the king came upon an old gardener, bent with age, his hands dark with earth, his clothes simple and worn. The king watched as the old man tended to a small patch of earth, planting seeds, watering tender shoots, humming softly to himself. And on the gardener's face, the king saw something he had never seen before, something that made his heart quicken with sudden longing. The rose pauses, pauses, as if taking breath. And in that pause, you hear the gentle sound of bees, distant and drowsy, moving from flower to flower in their ancient dance of life and sweetness. Peace, the rose whispers. The king saw peace, contentment, a joy that came not from having, but from giving, from nurturing, from loving something beyond oneself. And in that moment, the king understood that all his treasures were as dust, as shadows, compared to the wealth that lived within the old man's heart. The story settles into your soul like seeds settling into fertile ground, and you feel a loosening, a gentle release of tensions you had not even known you carried. The wisdom of Saadi flows through the rose's tale, teaching without preaching, guiding without forcing, showing you the path to inner peace through the simple beauty of story. You open your eyes, and the rose has closed its petals once more. But its gift remains within you, a warm glow that will accompany you through all your wanderings in this garden of eternal spring. Moving forward, your feet carry you past clusters of white jasmine, their star-shaped flowers scattered like tiny constellations across dark green leaves. Each bloom releases its fragrance as you pass, creating around you an invisible cloud of sweetness that makes your breathing deeper, slower, more peaceful. Here, beside a low stone wall covered in climbing vines, you discover a patch of violets, modest and humble, their purple faces turned toward the earth in gentle humility. Yet as you kneel beside them, as your fingers brush softly across their velvet petals, you sense within them a story, a whisper of wisdom waiting to unfold. The smallest violet, half hidden beneath broader leaves, begins to tremble slightly, and from its tiny form comes a voice, so soft, so gentle, that you must lean close, so close that your breath mingles with the flower's essence. Listen, the violet whispers. Listen to the tale of two friends, one rich, one poor, who walked together through the marketplace. The rich man wore robes of finest silk, rings of gold upon his fingers, servants following in his wake. The poor man wore simple cloth, carried his few possessions in a small bundle, walked with quiet dignity beside his friend. Ah, a violet's voice is like water over stones, smooth, soothing, hypnotic in its gentle cadence. As they walked, they came upon a beggar, old and bent, sitting by the roadside, his bowl empty, his eyes dim with hunger. The rich man, seeing the beggar, quickened his pace, averted his gaze, pretended not to see the outstretched hand, the silent plea for compassion. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the story, deeper into the soft earth, beside the violet patch. The ground supports you like a mother's arms, holding you, comforting you, as the tale unfolds in your mind like a flower opening to the sun. But the poor man, the violet continues. The poor man stopped and reached into his small bundle, took out half of his bread, the only food he possessed, and placed it gently in the beggar's bowl. Along with the bread, he gave something more precious still. He gave his smile, his kind words, his recognition of the beggar's humanity. The violet pauses, and in that pause you hear the distant call of a nightingale, pure and clear, singing its ancient song of love and longing. The sound seems to underscore the beauty of the poor man's gesture, to lift it up like incense rising toward heaven. That night, the violet whispers, that night, the rich man lay sleepless, troubled by dreams he could not understand, dreams of empty halls, of gold that turned to dust in his hands, of mirrors that showed him nothing but shadow, while the poor man slept deeply, peacefully, his heart light with the joy of having given, of having loved, of having seen the face of God in a stranger's eyes. The story completes itself, settles into your consciousness like a stone dropped into still water, creating ripples that spread outward, touching every corner of your being with gentle wisdom. You understand without needing to analyze, without needing to dissect. You simply understand the truth that lies within the violet's simple tale. Rising slowly, slowly, you continue your journey through this meadow of living stories. Each flower you pass seems to nod in recognition, seems to welcome you with silent greeting. Some are large and bold, roses and peonies and sunflowers that follow the light. Others are small and delicate, forget-me-nots and baby's breath, and tiny bells that chime softly in the breeze. But all carry within them the same essence, the same gentle wisdom, the same invitation to pause, to listen, to allow their stories to transform the landscape of your heart. You come upon a fountain, ancient and beautiful, carved from white marble that seems to glow with inner light. The water rises from its center, not in a violent spray, but in gentle arcs, graceful as a dancer's arms, musical as a poet's verse. The sound it makes is neither loud nor soft. but perfectly balanced, a constant murmur that seems to harmonize with the beating of your heart. Around the fountain's base, water lilies float in a circular pool, their waxy petals pristine white, their centers golden like tiny suns. You settle beside the pool, your reflection wavering slightly in the gentle movement of the water. And as you watch, one of the lilies begins to open, slowly, petal by petal, revealing its golden heart. From that golden center, a voice emerges, rich and warm, like honey poured from a jar, like sunlight filtered through amber, speaking words that seem to come from the very heart of the earth. In a distant land, the water lily begins. There lived a woman, a weaver, whose fingers moved like music across the loom, creating carpets of such beauty, such intricate design, that people traveled from far kingdoms to see her work. Yet she was not proud, no. She worked in silence, in solitude, finding in the rhythm of her weaving a kind of prayer. You lean back against the smooth marble of the fountain's edge, letting the water lily's voice flow over you like the warm water that cascades behind you. The story wraps around you, soft as the finest wool, comfortable as the most beloved blanket. One day, a young girl came to the weaver's house, a girl with torn clothes, with hungry eyes, with hands that tremble from cold and want. "Please," the girl said, "teach me your art. I have nothing to offer in return, but I will work, I will learn, I will serve you faithfully if only you will show me the way." The water lily's petals shimmer in the fountain's spray, each droplet that touches them creating tiny rainbows, brief and beautiful. Like moments of joy in a difficult life, the voice continues, steady, comforting, drawing you deeper into the story's embrace. The weaver looked at the girl, looked not with her eyes alone, but with her heart, and saw not the poverty, not the raggedness, but the hunger for beauty, the longing to create, the spark of divine creativity that burns within every human soul. And she smiled and opened her door, opened her home, opened her heart. You feel your own breathing synchronizing with the rhythm of the fountain, in and out, in and out, each breath carrying away tension, carrying away worry, carrying away all the small anxieties that cling to the soul like dust to a traveler's cloak. For 7 years, the water lily whispers, the girl learned not only the art of weaving, but the art of living, of giving, of finding joy in service, of discovering beauty in the simplest things. And when she had learned all the weaver could teach, she went forth into the world, carrying with her not only the skill of her hands, but the wisdom of her heart. The story reaches its gentle conclusion, and you feel as if you have been woven yourself, woven into something larger, something more beautiful than you were before. The water lily closes its petals, but its gift remains as a warm glow in your chest, a reminder that true wealth lies not in having, but in being, in becoming, in allowing yourself to be shaped by love. Standing, moving away from the fountain, you find yourself in a grove of orange trees, their branches heavy with fruit and blossom simultaneously. The air here is thick with perfume, intoxicating but not overwhelming, like walking through a cloud of concentrated sunshine. The trees form a natural cathedral, their branches intertwining overhead, creating patterns of light and shadow that dance across your skin. Beneath one of the largest trees, you discover a carpet of fallen petals, white and waxy, soft as silk beneath your feet. You lie down upon this natural bed, looking up through the branches at the sky beyond. The sky is no longer the gold of dawn, but the soft blue of morning, pale and gentle, like the color of peace itself. Above you, among the orange blossoms, a flower larger than the rest catches your attention. Its petals are pure white, but touched at their edges with the faintest hint of pink, like a blush, like the first breath of dawn. As you watch, it begins to pulse gently, rhythmically, in time with your heartbeat. From this blossom, a voice emerges. Neither male nor female, but something beyond. Something that encompasses all possibilities, all genders, all ages, all conditions of human existence. It speaks, and its words seem to come not just from the flower, but from the tree, from the earth, from the very air around you. Long ago, the orange blossom begins. In the court of a great sultan, there lived two poets. One was famous throughout the land, his verses recited in royal halls, his name spoken with reverence by scholars and kings. The other was unknown, his poems shared only with friends, with children, with the poor and forgotten. Yet both men loved words, loved beauty, loved the dance of meaning that springs from the marriage of sound and silence. You close your eyes, letting the orange-scented air fill your lungs, letting the poet's voice carry you deeper into the realm of story, deeper into the garden of wisdom where every tale is a door, every door an invitation to understanding. One day, the Sultan announced a contest, a competition to determine who was the greatest poet in the kingdom. The prize would be gold, position, eternal fame. Poets came from far and wide, each hoping to claim the honor, each believing their art superior to all others. The orange blossom's voice grows softer, more intimate, as if sharing a secret, a truth known only to flowers and children and those who have learned to listen with their hearts. The famous poet presented his work, verse after verse of complex beauty, intricate rhymes, scholarly references, metaphors within metaphors. The court applauded, the judges nodded. Surely this was poetry of the highest order. Surely no one could surpass such learning, such skill. Above you, the breeze stirs the orange leaves, creating a sound like gentle applause, like the whisper of silk, like the soft breathing of someone deep in peaceful sleep. The sound becomes part of the story, part of the rhythm that carries you further from the world of worry, further into the realm of dreams. Then the unknown poet stood with simple dignity, and spoke just 4 lines, 4 simple lines about a mother singing to her child, about love that asks nothing in return, about the way moonlight looks on water, about how the heart recognizes truth without need of explanation. The orange blossom pauses as if allowing those imagined lines to sink into your consciousness, to take root in the fertile soil of your imagination. And you feel them. Feel those unspoken verses. Feel their power, their simple beauty, their truth. When the unknown poet finished, the blossom continues. The court was silent. Silent not from lack of appreciation, but from recognition. Recognition of something so pure, so honest, so true, that analysis would only diminish it. The judges looked at one another, looked and saw in each other's eyes the same understanding. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the carpet of petals, deeper into the embrace of the orange tree, deeper into the story that seems to be telling itself through you rather than to you. The boundary between listener and tale grows thin, transparent, like morning mist touched by the first rays of sun. The prize, the orange blossom whispers, the prize went to the unknown poet, not because his verses were clever, not because they displayed learning, but because they spoke truth, simple truth, the kind of truth that children understand, the kind of truth that makes the heart remember what it has always known. The story completes itself, settles into your being like water into sand, nourishing, essential, life-giving. You understand, without words, without analysis, you understand that the greatest art, the deepest wisdom, often comes disguised in the simplest forms, comes wearing the clothes of humility, speaking the language of love. Time passes, or perhaps time stands still. It is impossible to say in this place where moments stretch like taffy, sweet and golden and endless. You find yourself moving again, moving without urgency, without destination, letting your feet carry you where they will through this meadow of living stories. Here, beside a low stone bench, you discover a rose bush, ancient and gnarled, its trunk thick with age, its branches reaching in all directions like arms extended in embrace. Upon its thorny stems bloom roses of every color, red and white, pink and yellow, deep purple and palest cream. Each one a different story, each one a different lesson, each one a different doorway into wisdom. You settle upon the bench, settle and breathe deeply, letting the mingled fragrances wash over you like a wave of liquid peace. The roses seem to sense your presence, seem to lean toward you, their petals trembling slightly in the gentle air. One rose, larger than the others, its petals the deep red of garnet, of ruby, of heart's blood, begins to open, slowly, meditatively, and from its center comes a voice, old and wise, patient as earth, deep as water, eternal as sky. There was a time, the rose begins, when God looked upon the earth, looked upon the children of Adam scattered across the land, each living separate, apart, each believing themselves alone, unique, different from all others. And God's heart was moved with compassion, moved by their loneliness, their isolation, their failure to see the truth of their connection. The rose's voice is like the sound of ancient rivers, deep and constant, carrying within it the wisdom of countless seasons, countless stories, countless moments of recognition and understanding. You feel yourself becoming part of that river, part of that flow, part of that endless stream of meaning. So God, in infinite mercy, scattered pieces of divine light, scattered them like seeds throughout humanity, giving to each person, each soul, a fragment of the eternal. But here was the divine wisdom. The rose's voice grows softer, more mysterious. Here was the beautiful truth. No single person received all the light. No, each received only a portion. You lean forward, drawn by the profound simplicity of the image, feeling its truth resonate in your chest like a bell struck by a gentle hand. The rose continues, its voice weaving itself into the very fabric of your being. And so, to see the complete light, to know the full truth, to experience the totality of divine beauty, each person must seek the others, must recognize the light within them, must join their fragment with all the others, creating, together, the perfect illumination that God intended. A rose pauses, and in that pause you hear the deep silence that underlies all sound, the stillness from which all movement arises, the peace that exists at the heart of all seeking, all longing, all desire for unity and understanding. This is why the rose whispers. This is why the heart feels such joy when it recognizes kindness in another, when it sees compassion, when it witnesses love. For in that moment, the light calls to light. The divine recognizes itself. The fragment remembers its connection to the whole. The story settles into your soul like sediment settling in still water, creating clarity, creating transparency, creating the conditions for deeper seeing, deeper knowing, deeper peace. You understand in a way that goes beyond understanding. You know in a way that goes beyond knowledge. You feel the truth of humanity's interconnectedness, the reality of love as the fundamental force, the recognition that separation is illusion, unity is truth. The ancient rose closes its petals, but its teaching remains as a warm presence in your heart, a reminder that you are never alone, never truly separate, never outside the embrace of the divine love that connects all things, all beings, all moments in the eternal dance of existence. Moving on, moving deeper into the meadow, you come upon a stream, narrow and clear, its water moving so gently, so quietly, that it barely creates a sound. more of a whisper than a murmur, more of a sigh than a song. Along its banks grow forget-me-nots, tiny and blue, like fragments of sky fallen to earth, like tears of joy crystallized into flower form. You kneel beside the stream, your hands cupping the cool water, lifting it to your lips, tasting in it the sweetness of mountain springs, the purity of rain, the essence of life itself. The water refreshes not just your body, but your spirit, washing away the last traces of hurry, of worry, of anything that does not belong to this eternal moment of peace. Among the forget-me-nots, one flower, no larger than a child's fingernail, begins to glow, softly, gently, like a tiny star that has descended to earth to share its light. From this minute blossom comes a voice, small but clear, innocent but wise, speaking words that seem to come from the very beginning of time. Once, the forget-me-not begins. There was a child, a small girl who lived in a village by the sea. Every morning she would walk to the shore, walk with her grandmother, an old woman whose eyes held the wisdom of many decades, many seasons, many storms weathered and calms embraced. The forget-me-not's voice is like the sound of distant bells, like wind chimes touched by the softest breeze, like the first words spoken by someone learning to speak, precious, fragile, profound in its simplicity. The grandmother would sit on a rock, her gnarled hands folded in her lap, her eyes gazing out across the endless water, and she would tell the child stories, stories of the sea, of the sky, of all the wonders that existed beyond the horizon, beyond sight, beyond the reach of small arms, but not beyond the reach of infinite imagination. You find yourself lying beside the stream, your body supported by the soft earth, your mind cradled by the gentle story. The water beside you continues its quiet journey, carrying with it fallen petals, carrying with it fragments of light, carrying with it the endless patience of all things that know their destination. ... One day, the forget-me-not continues. The child asked her grandmother, "How do you know so many stories? How do you know about places you have never seen, about people you have never met?" And the old woman smiled with the gentleness of someone who has learned life's greatest secret. The tiny flower pulses with soft light, and that light seems to spread, seems to touch the other forget-me-nots, seems to create a constellation of blue stars along the stream bank, glowing with the same gentle radiance, the same patient love. "Ah, child," the grandmother said, "I know these stories because I have learned to listen not just with my ears, but with my heart. The wind tells me stories as it moves across the water. The waves whisper tales as they touch the shore. The stars share their secrets when I look up with wonder rather than worry. The whole world is speaking, constantly speaking, to those who remember how to listen. Then you feel your own capacity for listening expanding, deepening, becoming more subtle, more sensitive, more attuned to the constant conversation that exists between all things. between all beings, between the human heart and the heart of creation. And so the child learned. The forget-me-not whispers. Learned to listen. Learned to hear the stories that exist everywhere, in everything. Learned that wisdom is not something you possess, but something you participate in, something you join, something you become part of, through the simple act of paying attention, of caring, of remaining open to wonder. The tiny voice fades like the last note of a lullaby. But its teaching remains as an invitation, an encouragement, a reminder that every moment holds stories. Every breath carries wisdom. Every heartbeat connects you to the vast symphony of existence. You close your eyes, lying there beside the stream, and you listen, truly listen. You hear the water's gentle progress, the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant call of birds, the nearly inaudible hum that seems to rise from the earth itself. And in all these sounds, beneath all these sounds, you begin to hear it, the vast conversation, the endless story, the eternal dialogue between love and love, between soul and soul, between the finite and the infinite. Time dissolves, boundaries blur. You are the listener and the listened to, the story and a storyteller, the seeker and the sought. In this meadow of flowers, this garden of tales, you have found something you did not know you were looking for. You have discovered peace, not as a destination, but as a way of traveling, not as something to achieve, but as something to embody, something to become. The stream beside you continues its ancient journey, carrying your reflection, your hopes, your dreams, carrying them forward into mystery, into meaning, into the endless story that is writing itself through every moment, every breath, every gentle beating of your heart. And all around you, the flowers continue their patient blooming, continue their generous sharing, continue their quiet teaching. Each petal a page in the book of wisdom, each blossom a chapter in the story of love, each fragrance a verse in the eternal poem that sings itself through all creation. You breathe, and in breathing, participate. You listen, and in listening, understand. You rest, and in resting, become. Become part of the garden, part of the story, part of the endless blooming that is the heart's true nature. Here, in this meadow of petals and stories, you have found home, found peace, found the truth that Saadi knew, the truth that every flower knows, the truth that every story tells, that love is the ground, love is the growing, love is the blooming, love is the sharing, love is the listening, love is the learning, love is the endless, eternal, inexhaustible source from which all stories spring, and to which all stories return. The chapter draws to its gentle close, but the stories continue. Continue in your heart. Continue in your dreams. Continue in the soft spaces between sleeping and waking, where wisdom takes root and flowers into understanding, into compassion, into peace. You are held by the garden, held by the stories, held by the love that speaks through every petal, every page, every moment of this eternal, beautiful, never-ending tale. Chapter 3. Night breezes among the cypress trees. As twilight begins to paint the sky in shades of purple and gold, you find yourself walking deeper into the garden, where the cypress trees grow tall and stately, their dark silhouettes reaching toward the first stars like ancient prayers carved from living wood. The air has grown cooler, carrying with it the deeper fragrances of night-blooming jasmine and moonflowers. Your path winds between these majestic sentinels, their trunks so wide you could not wrap your arms around them, their age beyond counting. You place your palm against the bark of one great tree, feeling the slow, steady pulse of life that has flowed through its roots for centuries. The cypress seems to hum with accumulated wisdom, with all the secrets it has witnessed, all the souls it has sheltered. The breeze moves differently here among these ancient giants, not the playful dance of morning air among the roses, but something deeper, more purposeful, like the breath of the earth itself. It carries voices, soft and distant, speaking words of compassion that seem to emanate from the very air. You follow a path carpeted with fallen needles that release their resinous scent with each soft step. The fragrance is grounding, comforting, like incense in a sacred temple. Above you, the cypress branches create a natural cathedral, their spires disappearing into the deepening dusk. And through their dark weaving, stars begin to appear, one by one, like verses of light written across the sky. A stone bench appears beside the path, weathered smooth by countless hands, countless souls who have rested here. You settle onto its cool surface, feeling immediately how perfectly it has been placed, how it cradles you in just the right position to gaze up through the cypress canopy at the emerging constellation of stars. As you rest, the night breeze strengthens, moving through the trees with a sound like distant waves or the whisper of robes in a monastery. The sound is deeply soothing, hypnotic in its rhythm, and within it you begin to hear voices, not speaking to you, but through you. Voices of those who have found peace in this sacred grove. Listen, whispers the wind through the cypress needles, to the stories that live in the spaces between heartbeats, in the pause between words, in the silence that holds all understanding. The stars grow brighter as the sky darkens, and each point of light seems to pulse with its own gentle wisdom. You recognize constellations that have guided travelers for millennia, the same stars that shone on Saadi as he walked these paths, that illuminated his understanding of the connections between all living things. A particularly brilliant star catches your attention, and as you gaze at it, your consciousness seems to expand, to rise gently from your body and drift upward through the cypress branches, until you are floating peacefully among the stars themselves, looking down at the garden, at your own form resting quietly on the stone bench. From this elevated perspective, you can see the entire Gulistan spread below you, the fountains like points of silver light, the rose gardens glowing softly in the starlight, the cypress grove where your body rests, all of it connected by paths of soft light. Energy that flows between every tree, every flower, every stone, like the circulation of love through a vast, gentle heart. You understand now that you are not separate from this garden, not a visitor looking in, but a part of the living tapestry of compassion that Saadi wove with his words, with his life, with his endless love for humanity. You are a thread in this weaving, as essential as any rose, any cypress, any star. The realization fills you with a peace so profound it seems to flow through your floating consciousness like warm honey. You feel held, supported, loved by the very fabric of existence. The boundaries between self and world, between individual and universe, dissolve like morning mist touched by sunlight, gently, so gently you barely notice the transition. Your awareness drifts back, down through the cypress branches, settles once more into your body on the stone bench, but the expanded understanding remains. The felt sense of connection, of belonging to something infinitely beautiful and good. The night breeze continues to move through the trees, and now you can hear in its voice the whispers of all who have found solace here, travelers and mystics, poets and lovers, simple folk seeking meaning in lives touched by both joy and sorrow, all of them contributing their breath to the eternal conversation that flows through this sacred grove. You are not alone. The cypress trees seem to murmur, their ancient voices carried on currents of air that have cooled in their shade. You have never been alone. Every star that shines, shines for you. Every breath of wind brings love from hearts you have never met, but who know you as you know them, in the place beyond words. The sound of night birds begins to join the symphony, their calls soft and musical, like prayers offered to the darkening sky. An owl hoots somewhere in the distance, its voice both haunting and comforting, a sound that speaks of wisdom gained through patience, through watching, through understanding the deeper rhythms of life. You feel your breathing slow to match the pace of the night, deep, regular, each exhalation releasing tension, each inhalation drawing in the peace that flows so abundantly here. Your heartbeat synchronizes with some deeper pulse, the rhythm of the earth's turning, of tides, of the slow dance of seasons that brings renewal, rest, rebirth. A meteor streaks across the sky, its brief light drawing your eye and holding your attention as it burns its bright path through the darkness. And in its fleeting beauty, you glimpse something eternal. The way each moment of life burns with its own irreplaceable radiance, brief yet infinite in its significance. The cypress trees continue their ancient vigil, holding space for your rest, for your peace. Their presence is protective, nurturing, like grandparents watching over a sleeping child. You feel safe here in their shadow, held by their quiet strength, blessed by their patient wisdom. As the night dew ends, the sounds of the garden shift and settle into their nocturnal rhythm. Water continues to flow. Night flowers release their fragrances. The breeze maintains its gentle circulation through leaves and needles. But everything has grown softer, more hushed, as if the entire garden is preparing for sleep. Your eyelids grow heavy with the weight of peace, of stars, of the accumulated blessings of this sacred place. The last thing you notice before drifting toward deeper rest is how the cypress trees seem to bend slightly inward, creating a natural shelter, a living room under the stars where you can sleep safe and undisturbed. The night breeze becomes your lullaby, the stars your nightlight, the cypress trees your guardians, and in this protected space, surrounded by the whispered wisdom of ages, you allow yourself to sink deeper into the profound peace of the Gulistan, where every soul who enters becomes part of the eternal garden, and every heart finds its way home to love. The darkness that enfolds you is not empty, but full, pregnant with dreams that bloom like night flowers, with rest that restores like morning dew, with the deep, abiding peace that comes from knowing you belong. You are loved. You are held in the vast, tender embrace of existence itself. And as you drift towards sleep among the cypress trees, the last whisper you hear is the garden itself breathing you into dreams, carrying you gently on currents of compassion toward the deepest rest, the most peaceful dreams, the softest landing in the arms of eternal love. Chapter 4. The Mirror of the Stream. In the gentle transition between sleep and waking, between dream and dawn, you find yourself drawn by the sound of flowing water toward a part of the garden you have not yet explored. Your steps are unhurried, dreamlike, as if you are moving through layers of soft silk that part before you and close gently behind. The world around you has taken on the quality of a vision, more vivid than reality, yet somehow more true. The path leads you down a gentle slope, where the formal gardens give way to something wilder, more natural. Here, the hand of the gardener has worked in harmony with the hand of nature, creating a space that feels both cultivated and free. Ancient olive trees spread their silver-green branches, their leaves whispering secrets in a language older than words. And there, emerging from behind a curtain of weeping willow branches, you see it. A stream that flows, clear and clean, over stones worn, smooth by centuries of gentle passage. The water moves without hurry, its voice a constant murmur of contentment, speaking in syllables of liquid music that seem to carry meaning just beyond the edge of understanding. You part the willow fronds and step into the intimate space beside the stream. The ground here is soft with moss, springy under your feet like the most luxurious carpet. Wildflowers grow in casual abundance along the banks, their colors soft and muted in the dappled light that filters through the canopy above. A fallen log provides a natural seat beside the water, its bark worn smooth and warm from countless hours of sun. You settle onto this natural bench, feeling immediately how perfectly positioned it is, how it places you at just the right angle to gaze into the stream's flowing mirror, where the surface reflects not just the sky above, but something deeper, something that calls to the very depths of your soul. The water is so clear you can see every pebble on the bottom, every grain of sand shifting gently in the current. But as you lean closer, as your breathing slows and your gaze softens, the stream begins to show you more than stones and sand. In its flowing surface, images begin to appear, faces, scenes, stories that seem to rise from the water itself. The first face that emerges is that of an old woman, her features kind and weathered by years of both laughter and tears. Her eyes hold a depth of compassion that takes your breath away. And as you gaze at her reflection, you begin to understand that you are seeing not just one person, but all the women who have loved without condition, who have given without counting the cost, who have held space for healing in a world too often marked by wounds. The face shifts and flows, becoming that of a young father. Exhaustion and wonder mingled in his expression as he holds a newborn child. In his eyes, you see the fierce protectiveness, the overwhelming love, the promise to be better than he ever thought possible. And through him, you see all parents, all who have opened their hearts to care for another life, who have discovered that love multiplies rather than divides when shared. The images in the stream begin to flow more quickly now, but each one lingers long, enough for you to absorb its essence, its gift. An elderly man teaching a child to read, his patience infinite as small fingers trace letters for the 100th time. A group of friends sharing bread during hard times, their laughter transforming scarcity into abundance. A stranger helping another stranger, expecting nothing in return except the joy of kindness given freely. Each reflection speaks without words of the unity that binds all hearts, the recognition that beneath surface differences, all humans share the same fundamental needs, the same deep longings, the same capacity for both suffering and joy. You begin to see your own reflection among the others, not separate, but woven into the great tapestry of human experience. The stream carries voices now, soft whispers that seem to rise from the water itself, speaking words of Saadi's, wisdom that have been polished, smooth by repetition, like stones in the riverbed. A person is not a true believer until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. The words ripple across the surface, creating circles that expand and merge. showing how love spreads when allowed to flow freely. You trail your fingers in the cool water, and where they touch, new images bloom. You see acts of forgiveness that heal generations of hurt, moments of courage that change the course of history, simple kindnesses that create ripples of goodness, spreading far beyond their humble origins. The water carries these visions downstream, but their impact remains, settled into your heart like sediment of wisdom. The reflections begin to show you scenes from your own life, but transformed, seen through the eyes of compassion rather than judgment. You watch yourself as a child, confused and seeking, making mistakes, but always growing, always learning. You see the times you were hurt, but now you understand the pain of those who hurt you, how their own wounds created the blindness that led to harm. And you see the times you caused hurt to others, but instead of shame, you feel a gentle sadness, a deep desire to do better, to be more aware, to let love, rather than fear, guide your choices. The stream shows you that every mistake is also an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become more compassionate, more wise. The water reflects not just individual faces now, but entire communities, entire nations, showing how the same patterns of love and fear, generosity and greed, wisdom and ignorance play out on every scale. You see that the healing of the world begins with the healing of individual hearts, that peace between nations starts with peace within souls. A particularly clear section of the stream shows you something that takes your breath away. The face of every person who has ever felt alone, isolated, misunderstood. And in each face, you see your own reflection, recognizing that this feeling of separation is perhaps the greatest illusion, that in truth, all souls are connected by invisible threads of compassion, streams of love that flow beneath the surface of everyday awareness. The sun has moved overhead while you sat beside the stream, and now its rays penetrate the water at a perfect angle, causing the flowing surface to become a river of light. Each ripple a spark, each eddy a small sun. The entire stream appears to be made of flowing starlight, carrying illumination from one heart to another, from one moment to the next, from this sacred garden to every corner of the world. You understand now why you were drawn to this place, this mirror of flowing water. Here, the boundaries between self and other dissolve like salt in the sea. Here, you see clearly that love is not something you give or receive, but something you are, something that flows through you like the water flows through this stream, connecting you to every other heart, every other soul. Your reflection in the water shows a face transformed by understanding, eyes bright with recognition, features softened by compassion. You are the same person who entered the garden at dawn, yet somehow completely renewed, like the water itself, always flowing, always changing, yet always essentially itself. The stream continues its gentle murmur, carrying your newly awakened understanding downstream to other hearts, other gardens, other souls who thirst for the recognition of unity. And as you rise from your seat on the fallen log, as you prepare to continue your journey through the Gulistan, you carry with you the knowledge that you are never truly alone, that every step you take, every breath you breathe, every beat of your heart contributes to the great flowing river of love that connects all existence. The water sings you deeper into peace as you walk away, its voice a lullaby of liquid wisdom, a promise that the unity you have glimpsed here beside the stream flows everywhere, through every heart, every moment, every gentle breath that carries you further into the eternal embrace of Saadi's garden of love. Chapter 5. The Eternal Gulistan. The night has deepened around you, yet somehow the garden seems more luminous than ever, as if the very air has absorbed starlight and transformed it into a gentle glow that emanates from every leaf, every petal, every blade of grass. You move through this landscape of soft radiance, like a sleepwalker in the most beautiful dream, your feet finding their way along paths that seem lit from within. The boundaries of the garden have expanded, or perhaps your perception has expanded. For now you see that the Gulistan stretches beyond any horizon, infinite in its beauty, eternal in its peace. This is not just the garden of Saadi's poetry, but the garden that exists within every heart, the sanctuary that can never be destroyed, never be lost, because it lives in the realm beyond time and space. You come to a grove where the trees seem to be made of crystallized moonlight, their trunks silver and translucent, their branches reaching up into a sky that swirls with colors you have no names for. Here, seated on a carpet of grass that feels softer than silk, you find yourself in the presence of something, someone, whose identity transcends form, yet feels utterly familiar. The figure before you might be Saadi himself, or it might be the embodiment of all wisdom, all compassion, all love that has ever been written into verse, or whispered between hearts. The presence radiates such gentle warmth, such infinite understanding, that you feel yourself relaxing into trust as complete as a child falling asleep in loving arms. "Welcome home," the voice says, though you're not certain if you hear it with your ears or with some deeper sense. You have traveled far, through gardens of story and stream, through groves of starlight and whispers of roses, to arrive at this truth that was always already here, that you are, and always have been, at home in love. The words settle into your consciousness like seeds finding perfect soil, and as they take root, you feel yourself expanding. becoming larger somehow, yet also more grounded, more centered. You are no longer just a visitor to the garden, but a living part of its essence, a flower in the infinite bouquet of existence. Every soul who enters the Gulistan, the presence continues, its voice like wind through trees made of music, becomes a permanent resident, eternal contributor to the beauty that blooms here. Your presence changes the garden, and the garden changes you, until there is no difference between the lover and the beloved, the seeker and the sought, the gardener and the garden. Around you, the crystalline trees begin to sing, their voices blending in harmonies that speak directly to your soul. The song tells of how every act of kindness, every moment of understanding, every choice to love rather than fear, plants seeds in this eternal garden, creates new flowers, new pathways, new shelters for souls seeking peace. You see now that every person you have ever met, every story you have heard, every moment of connection you have experienced has brought you here, to this recognition of the love that underlies all existence. This is why the stream showed you so many faces, why the roses whispered so many tales, why the cypress trees held vigil through the night. All of it has been preparing you for this moment of awakening. The presence reaches out, and you feel a touch that seems to come from everywhere at once, infinitely gentle, infinitely loving. Under this touch, any remaining tension in your body dissolves. Any lingering worry in your mind evaporates like morning mist. You are held completely, unconditionally, in an embrace that includes your every fault, every fear, every moment of struggling, and loves it all equally. Sleep now, comes the whisper that might be wind, might be wisdom, might be the voice of your own deepest knowing. Sleep in the eternal garden where love tends every flower, where peace waters every root, where understanding lights every pathway. You are safe here, beloved here, at home here forever. The crystalline trees begin to lower their branches, creating a natural bower around you. Their leaves like prisms scattering rainbow light in gentle patterns that dance across your closed eyelids. The grass beneath you becomes softer, more welcoming, rising up to cradle your form with the tender care of a mother settling her child for sleep. Flowers begin to bloom around you, their petals opening in slow motion, releasing fragrances that speak of paradise, of peace beyond understanding, of love that knows no conditions. Their colors pulse gently, in rhythm with your heartbeat, in harmony with your breathing, which has become so slow, so deep, so peaceful. You feel yourself sinking, not down, but into the very heart of the garden, into the source from which all gardens spring. All around you, voices whisper blessings, prayers, lullabies in languages you don't recognize but somehow understand. The voices of every soul who has ever found peace, ever felt love, ever recognized the unity that connects all hearts. The garden expands around you, or you expand into the garden until you can no longer tell where you end and the eternal Gulistan begins. You are the roses whispering their stories, the stream reflecting infinite faces, the cypress trees holding vigil, the stars writing poetry across the sky. You are the whole garden, and the garden is whole in you. Time ceases to have meaning. There is only the eternal now, the forever moment of perfect peace, perfect love, perfect rest. You are cradled in the arms of existence itself, rocked gently by the breathing of the cosmos, sung to sleep by the lullaby of all creation. The last awareness that drifts through your consciousness is the recognition that this peace you have found, this love you have remembered, this garden you have entered, is not separate from the world you live in. It is the deepest truth of that world, the foundation upon which all apparent separation is built, the love that underlies all experience. When you wake, whether in minutes or hours or seasons, you will carry this garden with you. These pathways will remain open in your heart. These flowers will continue to bloom in your consciousness. These streams of compassion will flow through your daily life, transforming everything they touch. For you have found the eternal Gulistan, and the eternal Gulistan has found you, recognizing you as its own, welcoming you home to the love that was never lost, only temporarily forgotten in the beautiful dream of separation. And so you sleep, deeply, peacefully, eternally, in the rose garden of the heart, where Saadi's wisdom blooms forever, where every soul finds rest, where love tends all things with infinite gentleness, infinite patience, infinite grace. The garden breathes around you, through you, as you. Its peace becomes your peace, its love becomes your love, its eternity becomes your home. And in this sacred sleep, in this holy rest, you become a living verse in the endless poem of compassion, a blooming flower in the garden that exists beyond time, beyond space, beyond all boundaries, except the boundary of love, which has no boundary at all. Sleep now, beloved traveler, in the arms of the eternal Gulistan, where every ending is a beginning, every sunset a sunrise, every sleep a gentle awakening to deeper love. Let the garden hold you. Let its whispers carry you. Let its peace become your pillow, its love your blanket, its wisdom your dreams. For you are home now. You have always been home, in the garden of the heart, where roses bloom eternal, where streams flow forever, where stars write poems of light across the infinite sky of consciousness. Sleep and let yourself be loved by the love that has no name, no form, no limits, only endless, gentle, eternal embrace. The Gulistan whispers its final blessing as you drift into the deepest rest. May you remember, even in forgetting. May you love, even in difficulty. May you find, even in searching, the garden that lives always within you. The garden grows still, the streams murmur faintly, and the whispers of Saadi fade into gentle silence. If you felt calm tonight, let your voice join ours with a like, with your reflections in the comments, and by subscribing to walk again with us in the next forgotten hour. Sleep well, dream softly, and until we meet again, good night.